Right, hello everyone. I thought we'd come in and have a quick look at a time lapse of what's going on, or what has been going on with this build of the square thing, the colonnaded square that we wanted to build. So you saw in the last stream we started off with the other day of me building this thing up. Um, we decided what we're going to do. So this was some roofing that needed to go on. Which was a bit of a headache it gave me. Um, I kept on getting things wrong, didn't know what I was doing. Um, you can see what kind of we're up against. That creeper's annoying, and that, yeah, get rid of them. So we have various mobs spawning inside the thing as we went, which is annoying. So we got rid of them. There's a lot of. This is at the point where I decided we were going to have wood. We were going to bring in the wood frame into this because the whole thing looked incredibly stony. It wasn't a good look. It looked like sort of something out from ancient Rome or something rather than something properly medieval. So then we put on a whole new layer of standard beams, well, semi-standard beams for standard half-timbered builds, the kind of stuff that I'm putting on all of our houses. So the beams run along the tops of the walls, a jut out one at the end. On the jutting out bits, there's another beam that runs out, so that's how you have the first floor going up higher than the ground floor. And then finally, each of the jutting out bits, you put your corner beams on again. This is what I'm struggling with here. There you go. So you can see how the corners work. You'll see this in lots of videos. It's a bit fast to see in this sped up thing, but you can cope with it. It's fine. I did start to have a bit of a brain fart about what I was doing trying to build this. You see what I'd put in along that middle bit there? It's just too narrow as the road. It was all going to be totally covered up, so there's no overhang on the bits beside the road. They just go flush with the walls, so we got some space. This is me then having a stress about how the floors are going to work and what we're going to have in here, and I kind of think at this point I'd realised that the level of the windows up there, which is what we're looking at the moment, was quite high, and that there might be space underneath this new layer for a kind of a mini loft thing. So I was just filling it all up with planks to have a look to see what kind of space is going to be left. I filled out the gap here, and also I'd built some steps up to what's going to be the tower, and thought, yeah, sort of mess up the tower. So I thought I'd get rid of those steps as well because we're not going to need them, and then realised we were already at a higher level than we were at when we started. So I brought the new plank floor right the way across and had a look. I covered up some of the irregularities on the wall with the white terracotta, which is our sort of walling material, and then took that back again as a mistake, and then thought we'd go for this 2 block high attic space stuff just to see what that's going to look like. I thought, yeah, that's quite nice, but then I thought we could do with a little bit more headroom underneath, a little bit more detailing by putting steps along one side and slabs along the other. I tried steps along both sides for a bit and had a look at that. I didn't like that, and so replaced it with slabs. And what it looks like is you've got a beam running across on one side where the steps kind of are irregular. It looks a lot like a wooden beam running along, and I liked that look from underneath. And then just as a token, because it looks awful, you can see the floor's uneven. I put down grey carpet and hung some lights off the ceiling, just temporarily really, to stop mobs spawning. I mean, the carpet would have done the job, but I thought we need a bit of light as well. The carpet's more to hide the horrible floor. Realised we had a space at the back as well. Toyed with the idea of doing a bit more, and then hit upon this idea of putting iron grills into the attic space because it's kind of merchant storage, and I thought that would be quite cool. And then thought, well, what do we do about these towers? I didn't know how we were going to suspend the floor, rest the floor on top of these towers. Didn't really know what I was going to do. So we've put in the same floor with the slabs as we had before, all the way around. I then wanted to go outside and tidy up how the base of the tower is going to work, and I wasn't quite sure what I was doing here. So it's a mixture of stone and wood. I sort of packed it in, just as best I could really, to make it look as natural as possible. to make it look like the tower is supported on either beams or on pillars or on something, so it looks realistic. Then I wondered again what to do about the edge, the kind of overlook. Took me a while to hit on what we were going to do there. What am I doing here? I'm just flying around all over the place, trying to look at it and have a think, I think. You know, philosophical speculation, deciding what to have for dinner, that kind of thing. So then I thought we'd run a beam all the way along the side of it there. And then thought, well, that looks a bit crap. But at least it looks good from on top. Toyed the idea of, blotting the whole lot in. Didn't like that. Again, wasn't sure what we were going to do. And I think then I hit on the idea of putting, stone pillars down the bottom like that, holding that beam up. And then thought, well, what the heck, may as well hold up a beam continuous along there. And thought, yes, that looks good. So then it looks like the pillars are holding up the big beam along the top. So that's that problem solved. Exactly how we deal with the bits overlooking that beam, I wasn't sure. In the moment you can see it's kind of sealed off, so I've broken them back out and left pillars made of the white terracotta. Tried with kicking the wall out and couldn't do it. That was what I was doing there, and I thought that looked okay. And then we toyed with the idea of a white terracotta wall, didn't like that, and eventually the kind of we put a beam around the side across of them so it looked like it was running along the top. Thought that looked okay, and then just hit on the idea of running a iron railing along, not that I could get in and out. Then I thought, well, given that we're doing these iron railings all over the place, and we got that one at the front, I thought we'd make a feature of them. And so we got these air bricks, I suppose they are, all the way along the log here. And either side of it, I alternated the log directions, so it doesn't look like one long log. Looks a bit more like a bit of wood. I mean, maybe stripped wood would have been okay there, but I do like the oak log textures. I think they're really pretty. And the colour goes well with spruce wood, which is odd because oak logs and spruce wood, I like that combination. With a bit of dark oak detailing, I suppose. Yeah, and I was kind of happy with that. What were we doing here? Just tidying up, I think. Then, where did we get to? What am I doing? This is just trying to sort out the outside and how the corners are going to work, which is a bit of a ball ache. Creating a symmetry for at least the other side, trying to copy what I'd done. And then we go and arrange the whole upstairs layer, I think is what we're going to do next. Oh no, we went back inside and agonised about how this is going to work some more, about whether or not we have a air brick there. I'm not sure in the end we went with it, but this had to be filled in around the edge. And that left room for some more air bricks. And they go all the way around in the end. I think I do this wrong a couple of times and put them in the wrong place and have to smash them out and put them back, because you know how it is. And trying to make them match the ones that I built in the sort of attic room was the main thing of what I was doing here. So then we filled it up, I think, with some of the roofing just to see how that's going to look. Because remember, this is the floor of the upper level. This is still only the roof of the lower level. There we go. Give it a test, give it a look at, satisfy ourselves we're happy. I thought, yeah, that looks okay. And I clearly then had a pause and had to have a think about things. Oh, I could hear zombies and skeletons in the background, so I teleported myself to the nearest zombie, nearest skeleton I could hear. I found a little cave full of stuff, lit it all up, killed everything in there. There were even bats in there that I needed to stop being noisy. Still hear more at the end of that, so I teleported myself off to the next nearest thing, which I think was a cave right next door to that, where there was indeed a zombie flying around, and I think another bat here. You can see the bat. So we kill that zombie, that bat, and then we go back out. And you see it wasn't actually far. We were on the main square just outside the building. I don't want noise from the caves in my town. I think they're pretty unpleasant. Then I wasn't sure about this spruce plank ceiling. I didn't like its look, and what I thought instead we'd do is run some logs along the ceiling and surround them with half slabs, because that gives the effect of exposed beams underneath. It's really quite pretty, and it just looks far better. So we've got logs on all of the junction logs on the corner, I suppose is what you call them. So the logs sit on logs, so that makes sense architecturally. Then I was trying to tidy up just around those little vents. I wasn't sure I liked to just wood on top of the vent. That I thought that looked stupid. So then we went with tucking it in that way. A little brick block on top looked neatest for them. So above each vent and below each vent there's brick, which is kind of what we did that around the side as well. That was the smartest way of, this is me just doing that, that was the smartest way of tidying those up. Not that anyone's going to go and inspect those vents, but if they do look quite pretty now. This is me checking they're all done and finishing them off. And then I explored with what on the layer in, on the wall layer on the inside, whether we wanted something else just above them. And I wasn't sure what we needed. Anyway, this is, so we're filling in the slabs, and you can see how the beams then are exposed around them in that nice style that they are. And it makes a mess of the upper floor. Those things there, I think I went and compared the rest and discovered that the rest of them have a beam across them like that, and then that gives the impression very much of there being a kind of a sunken beam in the wall that you can just get a glimpse of at those points. I thought that was a nice touch. It kind of looks like architecture inside the architecture. And then what am I doing? I lit the place up to shut the ceiling off. Oh, then we needed some stairs in here, and the windows were in the way, so I was kind of committed to putting the stairs in a way that didn't foul the windows, and there we are. We filled them up a bit, tried to work out how to make them look nice. Didn't want anything too chunky. Then we ended up with that, but then I thought, well, we could Kaizen that and put in a block, cover the trapdoors to provide some lighting for the area. I did explore putting another block down in here. You can see one next to it with the trapdoors, but I thought that was, when I started putting the banister on, I thought it was then impossible because the trapdoors were in the way, so they had to come out, and we didn't have that in there in the end. We left the trapdoors around the back. That's a nice feature to look at. There we go, just finished the stairs off, boom, done. And this is me checking the light levels around the place, I think. Just trying to make something interesting with it. And then I thought let's put some signs up around the room just to kind of detail it a bit. I didn't like it, and of course you can't put them into the corners, and I spent quite a while wondering whether I could put something else in the corner, maybe that. I thought, no, that looks crap. Trying different versions of that and pondering it, and in the end deciding that, tried metal as well, deciding that it looks just so shit. At the moment those acacia bands are still up in that room, but I don't know if we'll leave them there. I don't think that looks very good. I don't know about you, I think it looks a bit shit. So then we go outside and we try and work out what the hell we're doing with the roof. So that gets tidied up and put in and brought round, and at which point I discovered that the back roof is slightly deeper than the front roof. I don't know how that happened, it just is. Because it doesn't jut out on the front, I think is why. I don't know why it's deep. But you make a virtue out of a failure, and sort of make it look like it's deliberate. So we filled all that in with the slabs. So the roof then outside is sort of done. Then I went around the inside just having a look up at all the gaps, wondering whether we can do anything neat about it. And I went up and tidied it up by putting some more brick in, so that when you're walking along you get a nice sort of symmetrical sort of channel in the roof above your head in the direction you're going. I played with these vent things, put in some that were missing that I just missed when I was doing the main stuff. tidied up how some of the log directions look at the end so that they kind of look interesting. And you have some logs in one direction, some in the other. So the cut ends, you don't ever have two cut ends next to each other. They always are at 90 degrees to each other because that's more interesting. And then wondered how to best disguise the base of this tower thing. I tried a vent in it. I tried various bits and bobs. I was a bit unhappy that you can see the planks through it, but in the end I decided that was okay, I think. It just didn't like it was being supported properly was the main problem with that roof. It looks like it's sort of floating. I still think actually it looks a bit like it's floating. It's partly because of where that vent is, and that vent is sitting underneath one of the support logs. Then we went through and what did we do next? We're just struggling with the roof. And we're nearly done now with this time-lapse sequence. We move on to a main video, which picks up after a bit more development. Hi again. I thought I'd update on some of the progress now. I've been working away at this thing. So we started putting the upper level on. So along here, you saw in the stream, the video thing, previous one, we put some wood and stuff in here. And I thought we'd shove in let's just set the time, shove in the upper decker wooden things. So I've gone for yellow terracotta. It's one of the colours that I've used a lot, and finally got the design right. I was streaming some of this earlier. I think the stream fell over. So at the end, we've got one with a kind of a double steepness because it's narrower, but I didn't want it too low. It's all a bit symmetrical. And then next to it, there's the lower bit. I have done that one less steep. I'm not sure about this. I might want this sort of thing just on a large building. It can look awfully jagged. Yeah, I do think we do want that, don't we? It can look awfully jagged. On the little houses and things, this sort of pointiness doesn't really bother me, but on these big ones it really becomes obvious. It's still not great, that. Do we want something sort of under here? Maybe. Yeah, whatever. So that's been done. You can see what we've done. So we've run logs along the tops of the wall, and then at the corners I haven't jutted that one out. What have I done? We've got them along the edge of the wall. There's a log missing from there. There you go. That's what's supporting the. So once you've got these two bits sticking out of the corners, you then run a log the other length on top of each one of them, ignore all of the detailing in it so far, and sit it on that one. You see we've got the same log running along here. And then on those corner bits, you put new uprights. So that's how we come out a block. I've added in more uprights made of wood that look like beams. And then this was kind of more for inside. We'll go inside and have a look in a minute. I knocked out the corners. I mean, ignoring the detailing, this is the same as a house there. Lots of windows. This bit was a bit of a this bit was a bit of a buggeration to do, trying to get the roof nice, because the way it worked out is that I had it's set back a bit further, and these flower pots don't quite fit. You can see we can't decorate the edges of them, but you can't see them from down here, so that's all right. This is some sign decoration. I didn't want flowers all the way around, it's too symmetrical. There's a flower pot there. So what we've got is, this is still some sort of merchant thing. So the merchants can be in here. This will be some sort of park thing. Access to it all, blah de blah de blah. And there's a room here that I haven't decorated. I've shoved some signs around the top just to try and make it look a bit less shit, but I'll come in here and decorate this properly. You see there's an upper layer there, only 2 blocks high, and that's sort of where these vents were put in. So these are venting out this room. This isn't a particularly posh room. If we go up here, you can see I put grey carpet down just to make it look a bit nicer, because it's a real mess under the floor of all sorts of colours and the tops of blocks, and it's not a proper solid floor, it's all sorts of gubbins. Beside each one of these things, I've changed the oak to go sideways, just so it doesn't look like it's breaking one long beam. It all looks like there's fixed structures in there. Punctuated them with the chiseled blocks, put some lights in opposite. But at the end here, we've just put some metal railings in. That was how we got around the problem of this, making this look like it was resting on the pillars, was that we made the pillars instead out of more stone inside, rested a beam along the top of them, and then just carried on a little bit at the top with this. The ceiling logs, we've put in logs to support the ceiling to make it look better. They match up with they're on top of the windows, actually, those ones. And then we've put the ceiling in as slabs so that the beams are exposed. We've just decorated around each one of these things with a block of stone in there and a wood, just to give the vague idea. It looks like there's a hidden beam, an unplastered beam running along that side. It gives the illusion. So yeah, this is this room. I've jotted in a few cracked blocks now to try and make the texture a bit more interesting. There's not too many. I don't want it to look like it's falling down. I've popped in a few mossy things. It's a bit more difficult. This is clearly heavily walked on, so I think moss is sort of right for this. And then inside this thing, this is the other floor. What we've got in here is this is the peaked roof bit. So I've put some internal design in with these beams sticking along so that they're supporting the roof inside. I think they actually stick out the ends as well. Another beam at the top, and then I put some struts between them again, and they're symmetrical with this, just so it looks like it's bearing weight. It's not quite symmetrical with what's at the end, but that doesn't really matter. On top of each one, I did experiment with lights and things. I didn't like any of it. There's just some brown carpet on top of each exposed beam to try and stop things spawning up here and dropping down to the floor, because that'd be annoying. Lights up there looked rubbish. I tried sticking fence up there, I tried sticking iron rails up there, it all looked horrible. We've got a simple carpet design going on and a simple lighting design. I quite like that the redstone things have to go underneath them. It adds some character. And the same carpet design has been then copied in a larger scale to this big main room. This then is the next bit of it, and I've just put a crisscross tracery of beams and things across the roof to give the impression that the roof's being held up by something. Of course, it's not really. And again, there's brown carpet on top of everything to stop things spawning. It's quite nice. I think it looks a bit like a ballroom. I think that's what this is going to be, quite distinct from the market. The tower itself is just up here. I haven't done anything with it yet. It's just a room with, again, the beam up here, and that beam again sticks out at the end. I quite like once you come to a compromise between the internal sort of architecture and how it looks when it sticks out the end here. So that's that beam going through, and you can see these beams are actual genuine internal beams, and these are genuine internal beams. It just sort of helps me to think about it, how it looks on the outside as well as how it looks on the inside, just so that stuff's coherent. But yeah, that's that. Now, given that this downstairs here is going to go into a garden on this side, or a park, it's not going to do that on this side. This side has to be different somehow. I don't know what we're going to do on this side yet. I haven't come up with it, but this isn't going to extend into a big park here. There needs to be some space here for the merchants, but it's not going to be the same, and there'll be a wing somewhere in amongst all of this. We need to get a way to get into this upstairs, because there's no ladders, there's no way in, and you don't access it from the merchants' quarters. I'm thinking that it might be an external staircase on the outside of this wing. So you'd come into it off a road out here somewhere. You wouldn't even go into the market to access that. It would just feel like a separate building. You wouldn't go in here to access this. You'd go out some other bit of town, down a road here and round the back, and you get into some big double doors, and then they take you up, and you go in, and then you be in this grand thing. That's the idea. So yeah, that's as far as we've got to with this. Sorry, that was very, very quick. I will tag some more video into this shortly, if I have any more to do before I upload this. Otherwise, it'll be in a separate video. But maybe catch you later. Let's do a little photo of that. Hi everyone, and we're back now to have a look at what it is I finished with. I seem to put myself over in the main square for some reason. Let's pop back. So I finished off this courtyard building. I've also started putting in the foundations and areas of some other buildings. So we go take a look. So we know we come in here. Here's this boathouse thing on the side. Here's the view across. So we can see the buildings finished there. And I've started putting in buildings, just the foundations, along the sides of this road that we put in. I find it really helpful to, well, the roads are kind of defined, in this style anyway, the roads are defined by where the buildings are really, rather than vice versa. We'll come and have a look at them in a minute. But this is the main square, or this square thing I finished. There we go. So we can talk a bit about what I did. I brought the steps down to the front and put this glowstone under a light in it because we're using that design before. There's a couple of birch trees that I've written. This is a composter that I've then filled with compost, like carrots, grass, anything, shove it in until the compost level's at the top. It's just birch fence and birch leaves shoved around sort of aesthetically. I didn't want the very, I'm just going to set it to daytime. I didn't want the very formal French style of birch trees that I've got going on over here. Seeing these planters, I wanted something a bit more, well, not there anyway. I wanted something a bit more natural looking. I might replace this with a bespoke tree. I'll come back and do that in a minute. Anyway, staying on focus. So yeah, this was finished. What we've got is the colonnade's been done. The top is a standard half timbered design of top. I put acacia fence gates along here. They go nicely with the yellow terracotta. I'm not sure they'd have gone with vast amounts of other colours, but against there they blend in beautifully. They just look like they're holding up the roof. This is lit up over here. We've put in various flower pots. The only thing I'm wondering about is that middle tower roof, this one here, which has got this kind of point at the end. I'm wondering whether to make that a double height one, so each one of these comes up on a block before the next, a highly pitched roof like these M1s have got. I'm just wondering whether that might not look better just for the middle tower, but for the moment I'm leaving that because I think it looks quite nice. This path now flows through here as one of the roads, and we can build stuff out here. I've shoved lights up all around it. We've got the chisel bits and things in there. Anyway, let's go and have a look inside. It's not a lot more than what we saw earlier, but it's finished now. So inside, on both sides, we've just got this empty room at the moment. I'm not sure what to do with it. This needs to be some kind of market room. And upstairs, it heads to this smaller space here, which is kind of a loft. And that's the same on both sides. Let's keep the door shut. So you see this other side is absolutely symmetrical. I think the rooms need decorating differently though, otherwise the symmetry is going to be painful. Again, we go up and we've got the loft. So there's more space on this side. Why is that? Unfinished. Here we go. We got the loft. It needs working out what to do with. I haven't put the acacia fence signs around the top of this. I'm not sure I want them. Full stop. Anyway, so that's. I came in here, didn't I? That's what's down these layers here, and it's all the same. And we've already talked about that along this side here. These first two ones, I think we'll have some kind of park here. I'm not going to build that yet. What I'm going to do is leave that till quite late. I've marked where the fence might go with just some cauldrons, because I like make a fence out of cauldrons and anvils. And where the fence might go at this end, which won't be a cauldron one, it'll be something more like a wall, so maybe a wall's garden kind of thing. But I might decide against it. I might decide to put buildings, because just to have a garden that side and buildings this side kind of defeats the purpose of the view. But having gardens both sides feels like an awful lot of unused land then. And even if the garden comes to here, what do I do with this bit here? Because this is still going to be houses and buildings. So not sure. So we'll leave it space for a garden if we decide we do want it at the end of it all. In order to get into that top layer, we were talking about how do we get up to the yellow layer. What do we do? Where do we put steps up from? You can see this end here that comes out further than that end. I've allowed the design so here this stops at the wall, at the path, sorry, so you can get into here. But this end here I brought over the end to give just a little bit of asymmetry, because the path comes out a different side of this one. Look, it goes straight through that one but comes around a bend on this one. And then what we've got around the back, you see this bit of building on the side. We go back underneath an arch and down a road that I started putting down. And there's just some decorative trees and shiny stuff along here. But I've put in, along this side of the main building, a staircase up to that little thing. And a little antechamber, like a cloakroom or reception room or something, this little thing here. And then steps up into the main room again. So this is all the same decorative design with the redstone lights. This big area here, and then this is the one we'd already done in the building yesterday. So this is now one big area in here. We've got some nice decoration in the roof space of both sides, just so it looks kind of fun. It's supposed to look like it could be functional, and that the beams are actually supporting the roof. That's the idea behind it anyway. So yeah, that's what we did with that. I don't yet know how to kit this out and make it decorative and look nice beyond this. I think it needs a bit more than this. The fact that it's carpet makes it annoying, because I can't put things on the floor like fences and posts and stuff. I can put whole, because otherwise it won't sit on carpet. I can put whole things down that cover the floor, but the floors under here is so uneven and other blocks and stuff that it needs to be covered. So yeah, that's the finished thing. And then for this road business, so what I'd done is I'd taken this cobblestone path, because I knew we were going to be using a cobblestone path. That's our kind of road building material. I knew it was going to tuck around here on the left and follow around and follow around. So that was built to here. And then in order to get the rest of the roads done, what I actually do is build houses and just try and get them a bit asymmetric. So the posts go in, most of them have an odd number of blocks between the posts. So there's 5 there, and there's 1, 2, 3 there, 1, 2, 3 there. And we lay a house foundation out like that. And next to it there's another house. And that's 5, slightly different shape. Then next to that there's another one, but I've decided that the base part of this one is going to be 1 block higher, so that we get an unevenness in the amount of roofs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. This is all still even. I've tried to add a bit of interest in what doors lead to where. So this is like a single block house, but it might be that its upstairs extends to next door. I've used that in other bits of the village. So you go into this door here, and then you come upstairs and discover that the upstairs extends to over here, whereas the upstairs of this double house is only this bit here. So the upstairs is different from the downstairs. That's all. So it just feels a bit more interesting, a bit more quirky when you go inside, that you're not just seeing the same one up, one down kind of design. This one here, we see we've got an internal door through to here. This one's got a door out to a little back garden thing. I thought we'd put down here for make it interesting. Well, no, it's not to make it interesting. What happened is that the path came up here on this diagonal, whereas I'd built out at an angle and then just had this patch of triangular earth. I thought, oh, what do I do with that? I thought putting a shed or something in it, but in the end I just went with a little garden thing. Once that block over there was laid out, I then thought, well, okay, that's a block. Let's run a road in this side of them. When we got to here, I decided not to fill this one in as another house. So we've got a little secluded square there, just with the windows of the houses looking out at it, which I think is quite sweet. And then, again, I don't know what's going to happen, but the road's going to come along here somewhere. It'll probably tuck around to the left here, presumably going down here somewhere. I'm lining them with the polished andesite stuff. I don't know if we want it to join up with this road here yet. We might not want something that clean and tidy. What we might do is, say, put another house in somewhere sort of there. Let's make this one a bit taller. Its door can be, no, not there. How are we going to do this without continue to have that? Okay, well, it's going to have to be quite narrow here. So this line of stuff I think we can't have here because the actual road itself is going to be that much narrower. I mean, we'll texture this with some we textured it out with some mossy cobblestone because this is quite a narrow alley. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe it comes to there. Is that nicely? Yeah, that nicely doesn't match what's on the other side. This is going to be very enclosed. Maybe the door's going to be there like that. So there's a point to coming down here. We'll put something at the end to make it of interest. But you can see that this road's going to get blocked off by it, which is ideal. It's what we really want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's have another one of these go up here. It's going one more, isn't it? I don't know how this is going to work, but the ground level is going to be something like that, isn't it? There'll have to be some sort of building across here. I mean, it might be that actually we step down inside this one. We have a multi-layered interior. I don't know. I'm only building the kind of external frames of these things at the moment. I'm leaving the trees until I have to remove them because they can be quite nice. But I think, yeah, this goes something like that. So maybe this one steps down into something, I don't know. But the kind of key thing is that we've now blocked off that road to make it interesting. So we've got two interesting things. We've got a dead end here and a road that's clearly got to now extend down here. Actually, that's going to be, how are we going to do this? Let's make this one out here. This is just a, medieval layout that's just chaotic. Oops. Where's my polished andesite there? So this maybe will come down like that. Again, we'll use a bit of this to texture some stuff in to make it feel a bit more interesting. Maybe that goes there as well. And there even. Let's make it daytime. Right, there we are. And so then we've got over here at this end, this road, all it can do is turn a corner and go down here now. I don't think we're going to put another dead end in here, but we do want some interest in what it does has is going to have to go around a corner, I think, like that. Here we go. So this will cut, they can be more steps. So this will come down here, and maybe because they're pretty, I'll put a rose bush in the corner. Yeah, there we go. So now we've got some interest because it's feeding us around and through. And I'm not saying that that's even necessarily going to join up with this one coming down here. They might be going to separate places. They might join up. I'm not sure. But you get the idea in that I'm letting the houses dictate where the roads are rather than putting down roads and building houses along the edge of roads. It's different from modern building. The idea is we have land, people put houses up where they can and they live in them. And if there's a bit of space, you squeeze another house in, and you squeeze another house in, whilst trying to remain practical. So that's how these streets work. I mean, what we're really missing at the moment is something that has another covered street, because in a lot of these things, you go down these alleys and you see they've built across the top of a narrow alley, and you've got a kind of a bridgey thing. That happens a bit in the main island bit of the town over there as well. I say main, it's going to be the secondary bit. This is going to be the main town, isn't it? The main bit of the town, isn't it? Let's just put the windows into this and the door, so it's sitting there as a sort of an empty thing for me. We're gonna, for the moment, we're lining all of these things with stone, and they've all got spruce doors. And I don't know what's happening around this side of it. I don't know what we're doing there. We'll work that out later. It needs something at the end. Maybe an actual tree, but definitely we can put in a kind of a boxed thing here and plant a large fern in the side of it, and maybe as you blew it beside that, something like that, just so there's some focus at the end. And that might need some more detailing out. It's a bit formal, if that makes sense at the moment. Also, okay, and the roof of this one is clearly going to join in and cover this up completely, so that'll be very dark down here. So it needs some lighting as well. Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to carry on building these houses, dotting them out. I mean, you can see that there's a opportunity for another block here, and sometimes, you know, I might have decided that where I've butted the houses against up each other, that no, we're going to have a single wide alleyway running down between two of the houses. That's a possibility as well. So we'd have a house with a frame like this, whatever, and then the next one can either join onto it like that, or we might decide actually there's a gap in between the two. We put our two houses, and then we run a kind of a path thing down here between them. I don't know what we do. My middle mouse button, the wheel, is very spinny. So when I use the middle button, it's almost impossible to do it without also spinning it and then picking the wrong item. The paths generally are 4 wide, because otherwise the roof's getting confused with each other. And where we've got a middle path that's cobblestone, and then we're surrounding it with the andesite stuff, but that's not a rule. And here you can see that we've butted the path directly up against the house, because that's quite nice. Let's put in a bit of moss, and given that this is water, should probably have some moss over here as well. Maybe some mossy stone brick stairs underneath, something like that. Maybe up there as well. Yeah. Also dotted around this this main path, the little random blocks of andesite. Just thank you. Just to colour it slightly, make it look a bit more uneven. See, like this. Try to put the moss where moss would actually grow, so low down or in sort of areas that are shady. I know nothing's actually shady in this, but that's the idea. Maybe next to where we've already got a bit there. See there, I'm sort of putting them low down. Maybe we want a bit there as well. Some of the paths in the main town back over there, we've got just allowing grass to run along the side of some of the houses. I haven't got an example of that over here, but if we remind ourselves, let's kind of a quick look how we do this style here in the main town. But look, on this over here, we've got grass to run down the side of them. It's quite a nice look. It looks a bit like a grass verge then, running along. So we've allowed a lot of that over on this side. And there's quite a lot of greenery actually. But then over here, let's see, some of it's done like this and some of it's done with a grass verge. Anyway, so just some variety. I think I've not got enough variety in what I've been building, having just looked at that, to be fair. But then we've only just started. There's a lot of area. And we're kind of in the formal heart of the town just here as well, with this big thing next to us. So maybe it's appropriate over here to have edged roads, whereas maybe a bit further back up here. See, we've got a nice another dead end thing over there that's quite pretty. What should we have here? I think we want a little block of something with a lantern on top, just as a feature at the end of that corridor. There we go. There's a tree thing there. Something I did here, because we're digging into a hill here, there's a pure cellar here, which I don't know what to do with yet, but I dug that out as that building. And then on top of that, the same logs, the same corners, well, it's not quite the same, you can know we've dug out. So have another look at how that works. So this is dug out to further back, but it kind of uses the same external wall as the block up on the top. And this block up on the top is actually accessed from way back here. You see, you get into it up these stairs, and then there'll be access to the upstairs, but those stairs actually lead out here. So this is all self-contained from this alleyway, but in order to get up there, you go through this door here and it winds you round. Again, it's just to avoid this, like this one, which is just one down, one up kind of construction that's just a bit boring. So try and have the upstairs not matching the downstairs. So it feels like people are just trying to use the space. They're building onto their neighbours' roofs where they can, or yeah, that's the idea behind all of that. And yeah, it's just gonna be a matter of filling out this area, this huge area. There's a hilly bit there. We've got to do something with this big lake area there. That's quite fun. All of the game created houses over here are going to have to get replaced by something else at some point. I'll have to sort this cliff out and work out what I'm doing. It's an unknown quantity as to what's being built around this side. I think I'll leave the water and the lava there. They're quite fun. But we do have this land round here that I've always said needs something. I don't know what. We've got a gate. This is the north gate of the city wall, and at the moment we haven't got anything to the north. It doesn't go anywhere. It kind of, well, I was going to say it just turns into mountains. It does eventually just turn into mountains, I think. Maybe mountains are all further that way. Who knows? But anyway, that's a north gate. Maybe we need to be thinking about what we're going to have over here, or another completely separate development area or some distance away that we can join up by road. But all of this really wants filling in, and then we're back finally to the back of the university and the ground we looked at with the wall. And then here we are again with this. So yeah, we've got the steps coming down to something here. I don't know whether they're coming down to another main square. I think they probably should, or some kind of feature. It doesn't make sense if they're not. But all of this needs buildings. I think what I need to do is work out a few more large, substantial buildings to dot around this town. There'll definitely be another church down here, at least one, which will be bigger than the chapel that we built on the bridge. Not as big as the cathedral, clearly, but bigger than that chapel-y thing there. There's a bigger church over there in the main thing. So I think it'd be, in order to cater this whole area, this whole district, to some extent, I think it needs a moderately large church. But yeah, I need to build some other buildings, and I don't know what they're going to be yet. But at least that one's done. Right, the last thing I said I was going to do was to go and replace that tree with a custom tree, just so that you can see how easy they are to make. So because this one isn't in a single pot, well, all we do is you take some birch fence and you go up to a height, whatever, and then you put some branches in fairly arbitrary ways, but you want some on all sides, really. There we go, something like that will do. And then you take some birch leaves and you want one underneath each one of these for sure, because they're holding the leaves. But given that, you then just do whatever kind of feels right. It's really hard to say. You just sort of take steps back, and you certainly want them at the top, like that. Otherwise it feels naked. That'll do, will it, maybe? That looks good from that side. But a bit odd from this side. It's a bit uncovered round here. I think it just needs... It doesn't want that bit. Just something more. There we go. A custom birch tree. Boom, done. Some different layers, and you can see through it. That'd be really nice with the texture pack involved. I haven't used one, but I've seen how these things can look. Yeah, maybe we'll play with a few texture packs in one of these videos, so we'll see how things look. Right, there we go. There's a custom tree. And I think we'll finish by popping back over there and taking our compulsory photo of a finished build. That we can then use. Let's go up here a bit and have the tower in the background. Oops. Help if I could use the keys. Come on. The moon rising over it. That's lovely, isn't it? Okay. Cool. Thanks everyone for joining me. I will see you next time.